Loving life and grinding every day. That's the way I play. Never mind what I had to say. Tell them I say.
What is good? It's your boy B Moore, joined by my co-host Rustin Stewart, and this is episode 15 of the From New York to the Shop podcast. Russ, how you doing, man?
What up, B? How you doing? I see you back in the shy, man.
I am back, man. Back from Hawaii. I was out there just kind of getting some sun, enjoying myself for a couple of weeks. So back here in Chicago, getting back into the swing of things, man. So it's good to be back home. There's no place like home.
Yeah, that is definitely true, man. You took a page from my book, man, and got away, man. I'm glad to hear that. We all need those little trips to kind of reset.
Absolutely. I do. I feel much better, much more relaxed. So I'm excited about this show today. Coming up later, we have a special guest. We have Miss Nicollette Sullivan, who will be joining us later in the show. And she's a new jazz artist, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her project. So I'm excited about that. But before we get to that, man, I just want to tell you a little bit about my Hawaii trip, man.
Yeah, man. Let us know, man. You was out there for 2 weeks visiting your pops, right?
Yeah, I was out there visiting my pops, just kind of spending some time with him. I hadn't seen him in a while. And I was just enjoying myself, man. Like I said, I was going to the beach pretty much every day. I got some great drone footage, man. I put together this real nice video. So I was excited about that. People seem to enjoy it. And I did this thing called Cocoa Crater. Have you ever heard of that, Russ?
Nah, I'm not familiar. Cocoa Crater?
Yeah, it's actually like a dormant volcano. And it used to be like a military bunker back in like World War II. And they built like a railroad leading to like the top of it. And that was back in like the 60s, but now they just gave it over to the park district and people just use it to like climb. So this thing is like 1,208 feet tall. It's 1,048 stairs.
Wow.
And Russ, we both take pride in our physical fitness. You're a trainer. This is your profession as well as your lifestyle. And it's just my lifestyle. We always been, super into working out. So, I'm in good shape. You know what I'm saying? I take pride in my fitness. Mm-hmm. So it's not like I thought I was going to be able to sprint up the stairs. This 1,208 feet in the sky. But I thought I would at least be able to make it up without stopping.
Okay.
I made it about halfway without stopping. And then after that, literally, I was doing like 5 steps at a time and then resting for like 30, 40 seconds. It was rough. It was very humbling. And what was even more humbling was there was this young lady, she was probably about 30 years old or so. And she just walked right past me. Like I'm leaning over, hands on my knees, panting, sweating, like somebody threw a bucket of water on me. I'm sweating. And she just walks right past me, didn't even break stride. So I'm like, oh no, so my competitive juices kind of get going. I'm like, nah, she not gonna just walk past me like that. I probably got like maybe 15 more stairs, and then I was just like, forget it. This isn't a competition.
Like, F it.
This isn't a competition.
F the pride, right?
They say pride comes before the fall, and I would have fallen down those stairs if I kept trying to go up there. So, when she was coming down, I was still going up.
Oh, and she lapped you?
Yeah, she lapped me. She lapped me. But she had a reason though.
B, did she give you a little smile, like in a wink, or did she acknowledge you? Because that is also insult to injury when they kind of like, hey, how you doing? You can do it.
No, she was focused, man. She was like in this zone. So like, I flagged her down and I stopped her because I'm like, she can't be in this great a shape. Like this can't be her first time doing it. So I stopped her real quick. I was like, yo. I was like, have you done this before? And she was like, oh, yeah, this is my normal routine that I do, when I'm mad at my boyfriend. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, okay, so, it got me thinking. I feel like every man in America wishes that instead of arguing and getting into like this fight or knockdown, drag out fight, with his significant other, what if your girlfriend, instead of getting into an argument, just went and climbed a 1,200 foot dormant volcano? I feel like I'd appreciate that, because no matter how angry she is, when she comes back, that fight is not going to have the same intensity. You know what I'm
all
saying?
that adrenaline's going to go to that climb. But what I hear from this story, B, is she might need to find a new boyfriend.
Because she said, this is my regular mad routine.
This is my regular routine. That's what I heard.
Yeah. So that was just a little funny incident that happened. But I had a great time. It was actually worth it getting to the top of it. There was this magnificent, amazing view of Hawaii. And it was just so beautiful, man. And I had a great time. So that was just one of the fun things that I did when I was there. So,
well, I mean,
yeah,
I saw that Instagram post that you put up, and I noticed that the steps weren't even and level. They were all different kind of heights. And, you also have to equate with that, because you have to be able to like think about where you're going to step, because it's uneven. You don't want to twist the ankle, right? So that definitely, give yourself a little bit more credit than you're given, because that's a tough climb, man. And there's different heights of the step, right? Some steps are lower, some steps are higher.
Yeah, at some points it was like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Like the stairway, like you were like literally walking on the abandoned railway tracks, but underneath it was like a 6 to 8 foot drop.
Wow.
Like and they were spaced in between. It got pretty dangerous,
Yeah.
and it was definitely harder going up. It was easier coming down, but it was way more dangerous coming down,
Right.
because you have your momentum kind of pulling you down on this uneven surface. And I really, really took my time coming down, because it was just very, very dangerous. So I wish you had been it. That's one of those things where I would have been like, man, I wish Russ was here, man, because, I know you would have, had your competitive juices going, and, we probably would have made it up a little bit faster, but it was tough, man. 1,000 and what I say? I think like 1,048 steps or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah, we would have pushed each other, man. And then, my pride and ego, this is what I do. I'm a trainer. I'm not used to climbing those steps, but that adrenaline kicks in, man. So yeah, I'm glad you made it up, and it kind of gives you a little like motto for life, right? You got to go through hard times or difficult things to get to the top. And once you're at the top, man, it's definitely worth the trip, the journey up.
Yeah, and apparently they have something even more dangerous than that. It's called, you can look this up when you get a chance, it's called Stairway to Heaven. And it's even higher. The stairs are even more treacherous. And I think it actually goes over the expressway. Wow. It's crazy. It's crazy. My dad showed me pictures of it.
I want to just mention real quick. Have you ever noticed that whenever you're coming down a hill, a steep hill, or steps like you came down, you can't really walk cool? Like,
oh, no.
There's no way. I've tried it. I'm like, let me walk like cool, but there's no way, because the momentum is kind of like making you have this like dorky walk.
Yeah. The best thing, I think my only goal when doing stuff like that is not to fall.
Is not
you know what I'm saying?
Or twist
like
your
just
ankle.
Don't get hurt and don't fall.
Yeah. Well, that's what's up, man. What kind of food did you eat there, man?
I had poke, man. I think I told you poke is like my favorite food. It's this it's a fish. It's a type of fish that's like sauteed and seasoned, and it can be shrimp poke, it can be tuna. It's an amazing food. They have some variations of it here in Chicago, but it's nowhere near the level and the quality in Hawaii, because a lot of that fish in Hawaii was like caught the next day. It was caught the day before. You know what I'm saying?
The day before, exactly.
Yeah. So good food, good eating, good times. So great time. So let's transition really quick, Russ. Serious topic, but still a very, very sad topic. But we had a little bit less of an insult to injury, because yesterday the verdict was read from the Derek Chauvin trial. He was found guilty on all 3 counts: second-degree unintentional murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. Now, Second degree unintentional murder can carry a sentence up to 40 years. Third degree murder can carry a sentence up to 25 years. And second degree manslaughter can be up to 10 years. Now, he has no prior convictions. So the average, from what I've been reading, of time that they may expect him to serve would be about 12 and a half years for the murder charges and 4 years for manslaughter. But the judge decides the exact length and also whether they will be served back to back or not. So they will actually read the actual, he'll be sentenced in terms of how much time he'll serve in 8 weeks or so. So what are your thoughts on this verdict being read, Russ?
Well, I'm definitely relieved. I was really afraid if he would have got off of this crime, there would have been bloodshed in the streets. It would have been a hard thing to come back from. And it's interesting because I was supposed to train Kelly yesterday, and we were kind of like back and forth. And you would think that he's guilty. But how many times, Brian, where we have seen footage and it's obvious that there was a crime committed? You can Rodney King, you can go down the list of all the people that have been killed by the cops, and you think it's right there. It's just, this is obvious, and they've gotten off. They've been acquitted. So I think with everybody that I know, every black person, and white people too, felt like I don't know, because they were speculating because it happened so quick, 11 hours. The jury deliberated. So usually when that happens, it's pretty much guilty. Like there's not going to be a hung jury. But when it came across, I was relieved. And I put on my Instagram, it's a small step, but it's a step toward the right direction. And hopefully, Brian, cops will think about this, that there has been a cop that was convicted, and they will think twice. But then, sad to say, is our joy about getting the guilty verdict. And then, Ma'Khia Bryant, I hope I'm saying her name right, was killed by a cop 20 minutes pretty much after the verdict was read. So, we have a long way to go, but I'm glad that he will go to jail and serve his time.
Yeah. Let me say, a lot of people were also wondering, and I'm no lawyer, so I just know this. A lot of people were also saying, well, he killed him on camera. He clearly had his knee on his neck. Why not first degree murder? And I just want people to know that first degree murder, the reason why he wasn't charged with first degree murder was because that's a very, very high burden to prove. For it to be first degree murder, you have to be able to prove that it was premeditated. Right. And it was very difficult to prove that he woke up that morning and said, I'm going to kill George Floyd. So That's why a lot of people say, well, second degree murder, they think the numbers have to do with the severity. Yeah. And that's not necessarily true. In order for it to be first degree, you have to prove premeditation. Yeah. Even though you could argue that after the first minute of having his knee on his neck, he could have said, I'm going to kill this dude. And that still makes it premeditation. There's not necessarily a certain amount of time something has to be premeditated, but how do you prove that? You know what I'm saying?
Prove it. So and what's the amount of time right before the actual murder or killing, right?
Right. So it just made it, they went for a slam dunk. They went for, you always want to go with what you can, charges that you can prove. So that's to the people who were wondering why it was second degree as opposed to first degree. So he was guilty on all charges. So it gave me a sigh of relief. We all saw it. It was so simple. I mean, it almost seems like, you're looking at it. What's the question about? Why is there even a question? But just from the history of things that have happened in America, and we've been fooled before, you still had this kind of nervous feeling, just like, oh, I hope they get this right. I hope it's not one of, especially me working in the news field, cover. I'm like, I do not want to have to cover another riot. Point. I don't want to have to cover more protests. Like, I just don't. So, I'm so happy that we finally were able to get this right. So just want to send a shout out and just say much props and give our thanks to the jury who, who did their duty as civil servants and came back with a verdict that was absolutely correct. So
and also, give a shout out to the prosecution, because they had a pretty tight case. There's been times in the past, Brian, where you've had these cases and the prosecution didn't really go in, like it was very weak. So then you start to think, well, are they in on it too? Like, do they not care? But this prosecution, I heard one of the lawyers say, it was like a dream team put together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I don't know, I was listening to this. I think I was listening to like CNN or something like that. And they were saying that the prosecutions, their case lasted for a couple of days, whereas the defense lasted hours. So,
right.
That leads me to ask though, as far as his defense team, I don't know if they're public defenders or not, but wouldn't it be difficult to defend someone like that? Like, do you have and I don't know if you know this or not, but do you have the choice to actually turn down a case?
Yeah.
Like if I'm a defense lawyer and like they tell me, hey, we're giving you this case and you have to defend them, I'd be like, I'm gonna have to go ahead and pass on that one, bro.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna be able to do it.
I think there's definitely they can turn down. They don't have to take the case. And if it was me, right?
Are you sure though? Because if you're a public defense attorney, you know how many cases that you normally get those cases from people who can't afford their own lawyer. So like, would you be turning down a lot of cases? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know. I mean, if anybody wants to call in
right
and help us out with that. But I know, what's even stranger to me, or a question that I have, is that when they pick the jury, they're not supposed to know about the case. Where did they find 12 people that didn't know about the George Floyd killing?
Yeah, I unless they were living under a rock. I feel like at that point with a case such a high profile case, I think you just try to go with the people who feel like they can be the most unbiased, as opposed to, it was like the O.J. Simpson case. It's like, who hadn't heard about that case, but you try to find the most unbiased people. So,
right. Did you watch any of the trial, B?
Nah, because it was all during the day and I was working, and a lot of it, I was on vacation in Hawaii. I was really just trying to decompress and get my mind off of all of that. So I saw bits and pieces of it on the news, but I didn't actually watch any of it. So.
Have you ever been on a jury? I think that's the question too, right? Because just think if you were selected for this jury, like I wouldn't want to be on this jury because the time, and I mean that lasted what, 4 or 5 weeks, 4 weeks,
something like that, 3 weeks. Right. I'm not exactly sure. No, I've never been on a jury, and I wouldn't want to either, because I think what they give you like $15 a day, or if it was a jury,
depends on the city.
Yeah, if it was like a case to where it wasn't like a gruesome case or anything, I wouldn't mind, shoplifting, something like that, but I wouldn't want to be on like a murder jury.
Right. Real quick, a few years ago, I was selected to be on a jury, and I tried to go in there real nonchalant, like I didn't care, so they wouldn't pick me. Mm-hmm. They picked me, and they made me the foreman. So I had to read the verdict. It only
crazy.
Lasted like 2 days, man. And New York City, they owe me $40, man. Shoot, they owe me actually $120 because it was 3 days.
Why didn't you get it?
I don't know, but they make it really difficult to get your money, man. I don't know, it's because of my job of being a personal trainer or what, because I don't work like a 40-hour 5 days a week job, but yeah, they make it very difficult. So New York, y'all owe me $120.
Yeah, let's start a campaign and get Russ his money back.
Yeah,
man.
Right.
Get that man his money. All right, well look, I am very excited to announce that we have a special guest joining us. We have Miss Nicollette Sullivan. She is a new up-and-coming jazz artist, and she has an album coming out May 21st. So, after a word from our sponsors, we have Miss Nicollette Sullivan.
I'm looking forward to that. A little jazz.
This episode of the From New York to the Chi is brought to you by Title Boxing Club Maplewood. Title Boxing Club Maplewood is very proud to sponsor this episode of the From New York to the Chi podcast. Title Boxing Club is fun, energetic, and a little sexy, kind of like the host of this show. Title Boxing Club offers an amazing group of boxing and kickboxing classes along with top-notch personal training. To sign up for Title Boxing Club's free daily 5-minute long workouts, just send them a message and they will respond as quick as a jab from the greatest, Muhammad Ali. You can follow Title Boxing Club Maplewood at TBC Maplewood on Facebook and on Instagram at Title Boxing Maplewood. Whenever me and Russ are in the St. Louis area, Title Boxing Club Maplewood is where you can find us for an exhilarating and fun boxing workout. All right, Russ, coming up next, Miss Nicollette Sullivan. All right, joining us next to the show is a new artist. I am so pleased to have joined us. It is Miss Nicollette Sullivan. Nicollette, how are you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us. So,
Hello, Nicollette. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, nice to meet you.
Good. Thank you for nice meeting you too as well.
So, you have your debut album entitled Nicollette, or is it Nicollette Sullivan? What's the name of the album?
It's Nicollette.
Okay, so your debut album Nicollette is coming out soon. So just tell us, how excited are you?
I can't be more excited. I mean, I've been living in the studio for years working on this project. I've poured my heart and soul into it, and to finally be able to share it with people, it's so fulfilling.
Awesome. And what type of music can people expect to hear from this album?
I mean, I have a lot of different musical genres that I like to listen to. So I definitely pull from a lot of different things and I fuse them together. So when you listen to my album, it'll definitely take you on a musical journey. Probably you'll feel like you're going throughout time as well, because I like to play with a lot of vintage sounds. My stuff is really heavily inspired by some of the great torch singers of the days, jazz music specifically. So you'll hear a lot of stuff like that. But I also have something that kind of sounds like Age of Aquarius. So, there's a little bit of versatility on the album.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started.
So I've always been interested in music ever since I was a child. There's videos of me when I was a baby, basically singing in my rocking chair. Essentially, as a kid, I would always be involved in some music program. I always loved performing arts. And musical theater, stuff like that. I was always in like shows and stuff growing up, and my parents were also heavily involved in music. So being around them and the musicians that they knew and worked with, that also influenced me. My dad went on tour with his band when I was younger in Hawaii, and I basically grew up in the studio there. So I've definitely been around music my whole life.
Right. And little known fact, your mom was a stylist for Rick James.
Yes. She definitely has been not only a huge help, but a huge influence on who I am today. And she's definitely a huge reason why I'm interested in music as well. She was literally, I mean, I couldn't have done it without her. She was right there for me every step of the way. I'm so blessed to have such supportive parents.
Did you have a hand in the writing? And if so, what is like your creative process when it comes to writing?
Yes, I'm heavily involved. I'm basically writing most of everything essentially, but I have people that I'm working with. So it's definitely a collaboration. I'm not writing these alone for sure, but I'm involved in every step of every process essentially.
So, who are a few of the artists who have like influenced you? Because I know that you said that you take a lot of different styles and you have a lot of different genres. So, who are some of those artists who have inspired you?
So my favorite definitely is Ella Fitzgerald. I love her voice. I would love to sound like her. I practice her stuff all the time. Etta James, Nina Simone, Doris Day, Julie London, Peggy Lee, Patsy Cline, Whitney Houston, Sarah Vaughan. I could go on. I love all the old school stuff. It's just
Now, being so young at 25, just 25 years old, most artists your age are into R&B, they're into hip hop. So what was it about jazz that made you gravitate towards that genre?
so I mean I definitely like R&B and hip hop as well, but I always felt like well, as a kid, I would watch a lot of vintage movies with my grandmother and my mom, and we'd also watch like period pieces as well, like modern period pieces. But I always had a fascination with the vintage aesthetic and how things were so different in different times. So with watching those old movies, they kind of influenced my aesthetic, and as well as when you watch those movies, for instance, The Notebook, that's a modern one, right? But it's a period piece, and in the movie, at the end of the movie, there's a scene where the couple dances, and it's a very emotional. It's an emotional peak in the movie, and it's a Billie Holiday song that comes on. I'll Be Seeing You, and that was the first time I ever heard a Billie Holiday song when I watched that movie. And I immediately looked into the song, and I was like, "Oh my God, this song is beautiful! It makes me want to cry." And I was opened up to Billie Holiday and all of her stuff. And there's many other times where something like that has kind of happened. So, yeah. And I kind of lean towards being different. I like to like kind of be unique. So I felt like I don't really see a lot of jazz happening, So I felt like,
Right.
th- there should be more jazz,
Yeah, absolutely. Now, you are definitely an old soul because I listened to your first single, Sweet Dreams. And my question is, were you familiar with that song prior to recording it? Because I didn't even know I'm so used to that song being born in the 80s, but I didn't even know who made it. So it was the Eurythmics, and it came out in like 1983, way before you were even thought of. So were
Right.
you familiar with them before recording that song?
Well, yes. I mean, my parents have definitely played that song around me when I was younger, and it's a classic song. I mean, I feel like I've heard it in like movies and stuff like that as well. So I definitely have heard the song before. I didn't necessarily know like about it that much, but when I had started looking into redoing it, I was like, I dove in and I found it even more interesting than just on surface level, knowing it as a classic song that I really liked.
Yeah, yeah. So I know this may be like, a parent trying to choose which one of their kids they love the best. But like off the album, do you have a favorite song? And if you do, which one is it?
Oh, that's hard. Because they're all like children to me, honestly, and they all have different
Right.
vibes. And I love different things about different songs. Um, okay. I guess. Well, I don't know. I'm really digging the Strychnine vibe right now. And I guess the reason I'm digging Strychnine is maybe because I've been shooting the video for it, and so I'm living in that song right now, but I definitely like the vibe of that
Right.
song, and I felt like there was a journey with that song as well. It had different metamorphosis. through the process the
Hmm.
process of writing it. So yeah, I like Strychnine a lot, but I mean, there's so many other songs that I really like. You Only Hurt the One You Love, I feel like is underrated. I feel like it's like I mean, we haven't, not a lot of people have heard it, but like in terms of response from just my close family and friends, I feel like that one is underrated, and I feel like that one means a lot to me, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
songs that mean something to me.
Being an artist myself, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I was going to say, speaking to that, being an artist myself, it's funny to see which songs that people respond to and which ones they don't, because you'll you'll have a song and you'll think that, like, I know this person's gonna love this song, and then they'll be like, nah, it's okay. And then there's one where you just think it's okay and they're like, that's my song, and I'm like, really, you like that one? So it's always funny to see the response.
It's true because I feel like the song that I thought people would, I was afraid that people would think that Star Child would be kind of corny. I guess I mean, I love the lyrics and I feel like it's so deep, but I was very afraid of the response essentially on that single. But from the response that I'm getting from the people around me, that's their favorite one. So I'm like, all right, well, you never know.
Right. Did you have a question, Russ? It looked like you were gonna say something.
Well, I was going to ask her. So, how you said you've been working on the music video for that particular song that you like most right now, just because you're working on it. I've often wondered with artists. I know you love being on stage. I know you performing, but how do you enjoy that video process, right? And being in front of the camera. Do you find that as much? Do you find that as much rewarding as being on stage, or how do you feel about that?
The video process, I think that's my favorite part because I mean, even when I'm writing the songs, I'm thinking about the video and what I want it to look like,
Okay.
and it'll kind of influence the approach I take as well in the studio because I'll kind of like, of course, Nicollette is me, but Nicollette is also an amalgamation of all the influences and everything I love, essentially. So I'll find a character essentially, and I'll infuse it with myself, and the character is who I see myself being in the video, essentially. So and it'll start there, and then when things will change through the process, like the video I'm working on now, I thought it was going to be a western at first, but then it changed and now it's kind of going in more of voodoo direction. So it's it's definitely an interesting process. And the other thing I love about videos is that I get to wear multiple hats. Like in this video, I got to style I mean, for the first shoot, I had somebody helping me, but the second half, I styled the whole thing on my own. And that was so fun for me because I feel like I really thrive. I'm good at styling, and I really thrive in that position. And I get to be casting director, and I get to be writer and come up with
Nice.
concept, the concept for the video. I'm highly involved in the editing process. I'll usually, pick a lot of the clips and then be, heavily involved. And yeah, so I love it. I think the only thing for me is sometimes I'm a little like exhausted on set because I've done so
Of
much. Like
course.
literally, it's like, okay, I'm doing all this. I'm getting everyone dressed. I'm getting myself dressed. I'm, doing everything for this video. I was up like all night the night before, just finishing these like hand drawn butter or moths. I was looking up African moths on the internet because I wanted to be authentic. And I was hand drawing them essentially all night the night before. And then I woke up, got everybody ready. And then on set, I'm done doing everything. And now I have to perform essentially. So there's no stopping. I remember at the
Right.
end of the
Right.
night, I was just in bed like I'm done. But it's so fulfilling. And I'm so
Yeah. Yeah.
excited to see everything.
A lot of people don't realize how much work goes into a music video. I've been in a couple of music videos, and I mean, it's an all day process. right? And that's with like a huge staff. So I can imagine doing most of the work is definitely tiresome, but
Oh,
worth it though, right? And
I
you're enjoying it.
definitely
So that's
no, I mean, I definitely wouldn't say that I do most of the work. I mean, I have a huge team around me, and it's a village that comes together,
that's good.
and I mean, I had an amazing cast. I had an amazing team. The director, everybody was just such a help, and they added so much to this project. So, yeah, it's definitely a village that comes together. And I mean, there was some of the girls were sitting there doing stuff to themselves, while I was getting other people together. One of the guys was literally doing his own face paint. So I had an amazing team come together and help me with this.
That's great. That's great. So where do we go to look at this video?
Oh, so you can
Where can
find
we find this video?
you can find my video on YouTube. It's not out right now. I will be posting it on my YouTube when it's ready, and then I'll also be shouting it out on all my social media. You can find links to all my social media on my website, NicoletteSullivan.com. That's www.NicoletteSullivan.com. And yeah, you can find all my links there.
Since we're talking about videos and cameras and all that kind of stuff, do you have any interest in acting, or do you just want to focus solely on the music, at least for right now?
I would love to get into acting. Actually, we've been talking about that, me and my team. I think we're going to start getting into, we're talking to somebody right now about management and essentially doing auditions. I've done it in the past,
Okay.
like auditions and stuff, and I usually get callbacks. And I've done well in the past, so I'm excited to like really step into it and take it seriously. As someone who's older now, because I was a child back in the day when I was more trying to get into acting.
I'm sure growing up in LA, those opportunities were available. So it's cool that you're actually ready to entertain those a little bit more now.
Yeah, no, totally. I'm super excited, and I'm definitely a ham. So just put me in front of the camera. I'm ready for my close-up.
Right, and you're ready.
Right,
Have you
cool.
always been like that, Nicollette? Have you from since a small child, as soon as they were like, okay, let's take a picture, Nicollette, you just brightened up?
Oh, yes. No, definitely. I would put on performances for my family. I would give me a reason to dress up and sing. I was there. I was always like I said, I was always involved in performances too. Like I was involved in this program called City at Peace as a kid, where we would go every weekend and kind of get together, like the youth of the community. We'd get together and talk about conflict resolution and like issues in the community. And then we'd come up with skits essentially that portrayed the issues that we were seeing amongst the community, and then put it all together in a show, picking the best skits, put it all together in a show and put that on at the end of the year. So that was something I was hugely involved in for several years, which influenced me. And also, being in choir and musical theater programs in school and just tons of stuff like that. I was always trying to be in front of people, showing my stuff.
Nice.
Okay, cool. Well, all right. So we're going to let you go. We're going to finish up here. But lastly, this is where we get all of your information. We want to know everything. We want to know the name of the album. We want to know when it comes out, when is the release date, when is it available for purchase, where people can find it. We want to know your social media. Tell us everything.
Okay, so the name of the album is Nicollette. You can find it on www.NicoletteSullivan.com. And the album release date, oh my God, this is so bad. I can't remember it off the top of my head. So let me go ahead and tell you that. The album release date.
Will it, in addition to buying it on your album, will it also be on like iTunes and Spotify and all of that kind of stuff?
It will be, yes. So you can find my album on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, everything like that. Yes.
While you look that up, Nicollette, I'm just curious because I am also an actor, and I find that, if you don't really know me, I'm kind of shy and quiet. But if you put a camera in front of me, I light up and like to perform. How are you when you're not performing? When you're, not doing a music video? Are you more shy and kind of reserved into yourself, or you just as much would have the huge personality that you do in your music videos or when you're performing?
I'm definitely shyer, I would say, when I'm not in front of the camera. I'm more quiet, and I'm like the person who's quietly observing the room, essentially. And then I'll chime in and stuff, but I'm more reserved. I'm you kind of have to get me to open up to you to see the real me, essentially.
Okay.
But yeah, me in front of a camera, and then all of a
All
sudden
right.
I open up.
Where can people find you if they want to follow you and all of that kind of stuff?
So you can find me on all social platforms at Nicollette Sullivan. I think Twitter is a little bit different. At Nicollette Sullivan, Sullivi. So but you can find all the links on my website, www.nicolettesullivan.com. There will be a link page there that'll direct you.
Okay, so thank you so much for joining us. Before we get you out of here, we are going to play a game that we play with all of our guests called 20 Questions. Are you ready?
All right, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay. Number one, what's the first thing you think about when you wake up?
When I wake up, the first thing I think about, I guess just being grateful that I'm waking up.
Hot or cold?
Cold.
Really? Pizza or wings?
Neither. Just kidding. Pizza.
Are you a vegetarian?
I'm not a vegetarian, but they just neither of them float my boat.
Night out on the town or Netflix and chill?
Netflix and chill.
Name an item that every singer should own.
An item that every singer should own. Maybe some good cough drops. They come in handy, like if your throat gets dry in the studio.
Okay. Prince or Michael Jackson?
Prince or Michael Jackson? Michael Jackson.
Michael finally got one. Yes.
Name one thing you would like to accomplish that you haven't yet.
I would like to... Well, I'd like to make it on Billboard. I'd love to make it on Billboard, which people could actually really help me with if they purchase my album. If I sell about 400, I can make it on Billboard. So please help me and do that.
Right. Awesome. Venice Beach or Manhattan Beach?
Venice Beach.
If you could choose any superpower, what would it be?
Well, okay, everybody probably says you want to fly, right? That's like, you have to fly, but then teleporting would be sick too. If you could just no, but flying is way better. No, flying for sure.
Okay. Etta James or Billie Holiday?
Now you're trying me. This is too hard. I guess
These are quick. These are supposed to be quick, Nicollette. You got to go fast. Don't even think about it.
Billie Holiday.
That's what I like. Okay. New York or LA?
LA.
Norah Jones or Rihanna?
Rihanna.
What song do you hate? What sound do you hate?
Chalkboard. Nails on a chalkboard.
Yeah. What sound do you love?
Laughter.
Who's the most interesting person you've ever met?
A monk.
If you were stranded on an island and could only listen to 3 artists, who would they be?
Ella Fitzgerald, Nina Simone, and Billie Holiday.
Mountains or the beach?
Beach.
Truth or dare?
Dare.
Everyone says dare. Not one person has said the truth ever. Phone calls or text?
Text.
Hotel or Airbnb?
Hotel.
Last one. If heaven exists, what would you want to hear God say when you walk through the pearly gates?
Finally, she's arrived. I don't know. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Nicollette Sullivan, ladies and gentlemen. Nicollette, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Nicollette, for joining us. I would definitely am anxiously awaiting to the drop date so I can check you out.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really had fun.
All right. Thank you, Nicollette. I am extremely excited to listen to her new project entitled Nicollette. Russ, so what should we do if people want to subscribe? Well, no, let me do that again. Emails, right?
All right. Emails first, yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Miss Nicollette Sullivan. We are super excited to hear her debut album. Once again, that drops on May 21st, and you can listen to it wherever you listen to music, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you listen to your music. Please listen to her album. Go out and buy it, and I'm sure it will be a great project. So, Russ, no emails today, but if people want to email the show, what should they do?
They should definitely hit us up from NewYorkToTheChi@gmail.com. You guys, we want to hear from you. Especially, we were talking about some legal terms, and me and Brian are not lawyers. So if some lawyers are out there that want to kind of give us more information on the whole legal process, then hit us up. We love to hear from you guys. And also, I haven't forgot about the Title Boxing members. Let us know. I mean, we have our experience there, but let us know how you feel about Title Boxing and what it means to be a member at Title Boxing.
Absolutely. Definitely. Like we said before, we had a guest today, so we didn't necessarily need them. We try to keep the show around a certain length. So, it would have probably been too much for one show. But when we don't have guests, it's almost like people who send emails in. It's like you guys are our guests. You guys are part of the show, and we love answering topics that we know you guys want to talk about. So once again, from NYC to the Chi, that's FromNYCTOTHECHI@gmail.com. Also, if you want to support us, how else can you support us, Russ?
Subscribe. Let us know. So if you're not calling in, at least subscribe, right, B?
Absolutely. One or the other. We prefer both.
We prefer both, but we won't get greedy. But at least, subscribe so we can keep this party going.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely subscribe on all podcast platforms, wherever you listen to your podcast. Please subscribe to us, as well as if you watch us on YouTube. Shout out to all our YouTube viewers, because like we say, YouTube is like the behind the scenes reality TV version of the podcast. We edit the podcast, the audio podcast, but the YouTube version, we just let it all hang out. So the mistakes, my light just cut out, at during the middle of the show, I may not put that in there, but we definitely want to give you guys more of a behind the scene version. So shout out to all the people who watch us on YouTube, and please subscribe to us on YouTube as well.
And it would be nice to know what they prefer. Do they prefer the YouTube, or do they prefer to listen to their podcast? I like to know.
I feel like people who, I know a lot of people, and shout out to everybody in Hawaii, because we have a lot of listeners in Hawaii, Russ.
Oh, wow,
when I was out there. Yes. And
maybe they can put me up when I go out there.
Yeah. Well, we shout out to Janet. Janet, she said that she listens to our podcast every Tuesday morning while she's on the treadmill.
Okay.
So she likes the audio version because she listens to it. But I feel like if you have time, maybe if you're at work or something like that on the lunch break, maybe people will watch. I don't know when people watch this on YouTube, but people are definitely watching. So shout out to the people who are watching and listening as well.
And give a shout out to, my girl Layla down in Miami, because she listens to us every Monday morning while she's walking her dog. So she likes to get up. I mean, literally, she got up while I was there, like clockwork at 6:30 a.m. on a dot. I mean, she could be like knocked out at 6:25, but at 6:30 a.m., boom, she's up. So shout out to Layla. Thank you for listening.
Absolutely. And once again, I gave Janet a shout out in Hawaii, but also shout out to my dad out in Hawaii. Shout out to Robin, who definitely had, we had a very nice dinner, and she talked about how much she loved the podcast, and John and Mary. So thank you to everyone in Hawaii. This has been episode.
Robin, John and Mary.
Absolutely. This has been episode 15 of the From New York to the Shop podcast. As we always say, peace and blessings.
All right, y'all. Peace and blessings. We will see you guys next week.
Loving life and grinding every day. That's the way I play. Never mind what I had to say. Tell them I say. Loving life and grinding every day. That's the way I play. Never mind what I had to say. Tell them I say.
Riding clean like a young king. About to get this bitch jumping like a trampoline. Text 100 bad bras, say I'm on the scene. Put the pedal to the metal, make that bitch lean. I be swerving in the fast lane, going downhill fast like a crash, man. Calling shots like Jordan in his last game. Life is short, we ain't got no time to complain. So what you gon' do, what you gon' say? I'm making power moves every damn day. So what you gon' do, what you gon' say? Get your mind right, I'll get on my way. This is prolific, so pay attention. We about to enter this new dimension. Spreading love, my only mission. Ay, you see me talking, I hear you listen. Ay.
Living life and grinding every day. That's the way I play. Never mind what I had to say. Chasing paper today. Loving life and grinding every day. That's the way I play. Never mind what